I think the fundamental attribute of an entrepreneur is the ability to tolerate uncertainty.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today, I've got a great one for you. A CEO, a founder, an author, a fellow podcast host, Shawn Nelson. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. So I buried the lead there a little bit. For people that have been living under the rock, not necessarily understanding what's going on, I guess maybe your claim to fame would be what you've been doing over there with Lovesac.
Yeah. I think more people might know me as that Lovesac guy. Lovesac's been a 25-year saga. Name of the book, Let Me Save You 25 Years. The podcast, Let Me Save You 25 Years. It's a whole story to it that's actually pretty cool and entertaining. And I've been able to break it down into all these little learning opportunities that I share out. And that's been my MO for a little while.
I love it. So let's just dive on in. Take me back in time. Do you remember kind of where the idea for Lovesac came from?
I don't know where it came from, but I remember when it came. I was sitting on my parents' couch watching The Price is Right, bored out of my mind 10 days out of high school in the summer. And I just thought it'd be funny to make a beanbag, like this big, like me to the TV, the whole floor. And I'm impulsive. I'm a doer, get off the couch, drive down to Joann's Fabrics, buy some vinyl, fake leather, bring it home, cut it out, start sewing it up. My girlfriend's mom had to finish sewing it. My skills were limited. And Lovesac was born. It became my side hustle through college. And at the end of college, got a big order at some trade show we attended and had to build a factory. And that, got us into real business. And then none of the furniture stores wanted our name in them. So we opened our own store in a mall in Salt Lake City in 2001. And now fast forward all these years later, we are publicly traded on Nasdaq. We just finished a year at 700 million sales, and we have 300 plus locations. So it's kind of wild.
That's an amazing journey. And there's there's like a Reddit joke where like someone's drawing an owl and they're like, well, you draw the wing and then you just draw the rest of the owl, right? So I'm not going to let you get away with that. I'm going to dive into a few things here. Let's talk about it being your side hustle throughout college. And when did it go from like friends and family buying this thing to like there being, some actual reaction from the market?
I think that our market research was always just getting out there and selling these things. And that's the nice thing about a bootstrap is I knew every customer and I knew what they were asking for and I knew what they were saying and whether they wanted them bigger, smaller, squishier, softer, heavier, I don't know, whatever. And so call that market research. And pretty shortly after, and this is old, this is so long ago, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the internet was just becoming a thing really of any heft. And we figured out how to suck all the air out of them and shrink them, which allowed us to make them internetable, shippable via, UPS, FedEx, whatever. And all these things were kind of coalescing. Meanwhile, we were just kind of taking it a day at a time, trying to pay the bills, trying to get more orders, trying to just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Do you remember kind of what scale you were when you got that first big purchase order from a trade show?
Yeah. So this was literally just selling to friends and families when I wanted to shut the company down and graduate and move on to a real job, but I couldn't quite do it because every time I talked about it, my friends and family would be like, no, I love my Lovesac. You got to keep going. So kind of as like a last ditch effort, we registered for this trade show in Chicago for promotional products, like put your logo on our thing. And it was the only, I don't know, I'd asked around, I'd networked to it. It was just like this opportunity that was the right time. It was kind of aligning with the end of university for me. And I just thought out, look, we'll take it there. If we can get some kind of major orders from someone, maybe we'll continue. If not, at least I will have tried. I knew it wouldn't work and we could move on. And sure enough, it ended up working. We got no orders at the show. I'd sunk 15, 20 grand into getting out there, all this. And which at the time was a lot of money on credit cards and stuff. And I came back home dejected, and I was actually down there stuffing a sack on this like kind of wood chipper plugged into the wall in the back room of this furniture factory that just let us use it after school because they thought we were funny. This old foam shredder thing. And I remember seeing the ID on my phone was out of state, so I thought maybe it's from the show. So I turned off the shredder, brushed the foam out of my hair, answered it, Lovesac Corporation, and it's the limited too. It's you'd know it today as like Justice, like little girls' pink, purple, fuzzy stuff for their bedrooms, whatever. They want 12,000 little Sacs for Christmas, not realizing it's me and a buddy in a college side hustle. And I told them, no problem. We're the best in the world. And which is true, at making what we were at the time. And they ordered 12,000 little pieces. Then we had to spin up a factory real fast. We ended up using farm equipment to shred the foam, an old tractor, a hay grinder, and just once again, just figured it out along the way. And that launched us into the six figures, so we went from like, I don't know, maybe 10, 20,000 a year total in sales to 200 grand in one order to holy crap, let's keep this factory going. Let's open our own store. And we did six figures in 5 weeks, which for us was like mind blowing at the time. It was the first time I ever finally paid myself. I was always a waiter up till then, paying my bills by waiting tables, and Lovesac kind of sucked all my money out as any new business does. So it was just survival until that first store. And then even after that, of course, we opened good ones and bad ones and made every mistake under the sun and continued to live hand to mouth for many, many, many years.
Absolutely. Now with obviously that great order from Limited 2, by the way, they're from Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from. That's secret little like mall capital of the world here in Columbus. Yep. So with that big order and it kind of pushes you to take that next step, was the growth plan from there kind of like, all right, let's try traditional retail and make stores? Or was that just one avenue that you were pursuing while pursuing other avenues?
We honestly were just doing the next thing. I kind of talk about it in my book. And so there wasn't, the plan became let's open more stores. And then 10 days into it, someone came in that first location and said, oh my gosh, this is great. We've got the music bumping. It's good vibes. We spent a lot of money trying to make it look great. He said, who do we talk to about a franchise? And my cousin gave him my card, said, call this guy. And I run outside to answer the phone, on the bridge outside of the store, Lovesac Corporation. And they want a franchise. I said, well, what location are you in? They said, the Salt Lake. I said, oh, that's a good one. And a month later, we're already selling franchises. And that was actually how we funded our growth at that time. And through, a complete reorganization shortly after we raised money through VC, their big idea was to actually Chapter 11 the company, kind of start over with fewer locations that are all good, no bad ones. And it was embarrassing and rough and difficult and whatnot. And since then, we haven't had any franchise locations, so all our own. But, I've been through every high and I won $1 million on TV somewhere in there with Richard Branson. I won the reality show, the Rebel Billionaire in 2005, which helped us raise that VC round. So the highest highs, the lowest lows, and every lesson that comes from each of those.
Absolutely. I was not going to let you get off of this show without talking about that kind of investment. That was basically, for those that aren't, it's kind of like Shark Tank before Shark Tank.
Yeah, look, Richard Branson, way back in the day, this is 2004 or 5, wanted a show that was kind of like The Apprentice, Trump's Apprentice, but better because he's Richard Branson and different animal. And so he, instead of apprentices, he had all entrepreneurs that were running their own businesses come to compete and risk-taking activities. So besides like the classic apprentice style business challenge, we were flying all over the world. We'd land in Africa. Okay, you have 48 hours to help this African village come up with like an economic recovery plan as a team, whatever. And then we're going to go jump off, Victoria Falls together and do something wild and crazy, or walk between hot air balloons on a plank. All these risky TV-worthy events, Richard Branson style. And I mean, what an amazing blessing. Like, it only Happened one time. I'm the only winner, and my runner-up was Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, who's a good friend today. We joke she won in life. I won the show, but whatever. It was a great group of people. Learned a lot. Won $1 million, but I had $2 million in debt. You can't ever believe what you see on TV or even what you see on Instagram because you never know the backstory. At the time I was handed a check for $1 million, I had $2 million in debt, having built all these stores out and made all these, business mistakes at 24 years old, whatever. And so what's $1 million? And I don't mean to be a snob about it, but like it was hugely beneficial. But my point being, you just never know the backstory. You never know, the struggles an entrepreneur is going through, and they're all going through it, all of them. And, the problem is you see these glimpses on TV or you see these headlines on social media, what have you, about the real high flyers or the real outlying events. And you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. And so it's important to keep yourself grounded.
Hey there, merchant. Are you tired of trying to navigate the wild world of e-commerce on your own? Are you looking for a partner to help you achieve your goals? Look no further than the Shopify Plus agency, Electric Eye. Our team has a proven track record of helping our clients make millions with strategic design and development. Whether you're migrating from a legacy platform to Shopify, designing a new theme for your store, or just looking to optimize what you already have, Electric Eye is the perfect partner for you. Electric Eye are true Shopify experts. Not only is our Shopify knowledge unparalleled, but we have partnerships with all the best tech in the Shopify ecosystem. And don't worry, we're easy to get a hold of. Our clients rave about our fast communication. So here's the deal. If you're an e-commerce business doing over $1 million a year, you can receive a complimentary Shopify diagnostic from our team of experts. That's free, personalized, strategic recommendations to improve your store and grow your business. To get started, head on over to electriceye.io/connect to schedule an intro call with one of our experts. That's electriceye.io/connect. I'm assuming that you talk a little bit more about that in the book and then some. What would you say are kind of like top 3 takeaways if someone was going to sit down and open this up?
Yeah, I mean, I read all the business books I can get my hands on. They've been my mentor through life. And so when I sat down to write mine, I wanted to do something different, not something I'd seen somewhere else. So it's loaded with photographs. It's gritty. It's almost like a coffee table book. It's very different. It's short. You can read it really quickly. But it's the whole story. And I'm giving you pieces of it in fairly vivid detail. I tried to really be honest about the toughest times and really be honest about my challenges. So it's called, Let Me Save You 25 Years, Mistakes, Miracles, and Lessons from the Lovesac story. And what I do is pair each of these 25 little chapters in the story with 25 little lessons learned from that kind of period of time. And I call them Shawnisms. So I open with just do something. And, obviously the story of me getting off the couch, ironically, at my parents' house to drive down and buy the fabric and make the giant knot beanbag. Like I immediately did it. And I think taking action is something that sometimes is underrated, in this world of planning and execution and identify your market and blah, blah, blah. It's like, and by the way, I mean, there's action in that, but make something, prototype something, do something, sell something, build something. So we open with that Shawnism, and in between, I have all kinds of other bits of wisdom, including more flippant ones like play along the way. Like this company has sucked my whole adult life, right? From the time I was, 21 to, here I am at 47. Had I not played along the way, had I, always been waiting for that big payout, that big exit, I wouldn't have had a life. So I try to give, besides entrepreneurial advice, life advice somewhere in there. And I wrap with a Shawnism, number 25, pair top ambition with infinite patience. And it's something that's counterintuitive. I think as entrepreneurs, builders, there is some utility in being ambitious and fast moving and, sometimes impatient. But when you're able to pair your top ambitions, listen, as much as Lovesac has done a lot of things, we now like giant beanbags are the smallest part of our sales mix. We've built it into other categories. We sell mostly couches now and all these other things, including stealth tech, surround sound. We have a lot more products to come. But beyond just products, Lovesac will grow into the billions, and we'll get into other categories and disrupt them with our really unique point of view on product design, which is making things that are built to last a lifetime and designed to evolve. We call it designed for life. And it enervates this organization. What's my point? My point is, over these many years, I have had forced upon me the need to be patient for sometimes decades at a time, as things worked out, as we caught up to our P&L, as we grinded through raising capital and burning cash, and all those years of figuring things out, finding a market for this amazing couch solution that we invented, and then finally hanging on by our fingernails as we grew for probably a decade at like a 40% CAGR, and are now approaching $1 billion in sales. And I think have a point of view that'll take us into the billions. What's my point? Patience. Like, I have learned how to pair this driving ambition that I think I have naturally as an entrepreneur, and many of us do, with the ability to, like right now, the furniture category is in a deep morass. Like, following COVID was great for home categories. As it turns out, everyone stayed at home and bike, which now seems obvious, but at the time was terrifying. I had to close, at the time around 200 locations, and those drove 80% of our sales. And I just closed them. I was ready for like bankruptcy. I was like battening down the hatches, saving every penny, getting ready for mass layoffs. And then it didn't come. It all shifted to the web. So we survived that. And that gives you and by the way, 100 other setbacks along the way. And you develop this thick skin where, like right now, where the furniture category is in this major pullback after that major pull forward. So what? So we'll be frugal. We'll be careful. Meanwhile, we'll still invest in new product development, all these things. And meanwhile, all these other companies will just fall away. All the high flyers that we used to get compared to. Why aren't you more like these guys? They're growing at twice your pace. Why aren't you more like these guys? They're not, they're all gone. They're all dying. They're all zombies in the direct to consumer land for the most part. And the one that will survive will be the weirdo Lovesac that never was, a venture capital darling, that never did raise $500 million and have articles written about it in the Wall Street Journal and New York Times. And we'll be the one that survives and is profitable and will go on and grow into the billions because of our patience. We're not fighting this morass that we're found in. Like, overtly, we're rolling with it and we're using it to our advantage. And I think that is something, and it's because, like me, I made the decision fairly recently to just keep going. And I think there's great power and liberation in that, because everyone's seeking some kind of exit, some big exit. What are you going to do? So what? So you can, surf for a year, get bored, and then go invest in another thing that, may have less of a shot at whatever I've decided, and look, it's not for everyone, but my point is, by making that, at least for me, by making that decision, there's no end date. I could go till I'm 80 if they let me. Now what can I build? Now what can we build? And how, maddening is it to be caught in an industry downturn? And the answer is, it's not. I've lived through half a dozen of them. Just roll with it, because I'm not fighting like some artificial timeline, that I've some goal that I set for myself on a vision board. I'm trying to build something that's lasting and useful and meaningful, and that people love, and has a great culture, and that does good in the world. And for me, anyway, that's very motivating.
I think that's fantastic. Not enough entrepreneurs talk about, like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think a lot of people get caught up in growth for growth's sake.
Yeah.
And just, hitting these KPIs that make their investors happy, but does it make your team happy? Does it actually grow the business? Are you oversaturating your customers, your market? And then, like you said, there's all these external factors as well, like what's going on with the economy, with politics, with global health, and like how does that drive the vertical that you're in? Just sage words, and I'm excited to check out your book. I'll have one on the way soon. What came first? Was it the book or the podcast?
Hand in hand. So we launched the book early this year. It's become an Amazon bestseller. I think it's, as someone who reads all the business books, I think it is definitely different than any one you've come across. I tried to make it that way, trying to make it useful. It's entertaining as well. And then the podcast is really where I go deeper. So it's not an interview podcast, because I find myself even on podcasts, and it's great. This Lovesac story is great. I'm always happy to tell it. But instead, what I do is I take really high profile people. I've had, Sarah Blakely, I've had Coach Urban Meyer, Gronkowski, Shaun White, the snowboarder, half a dozen different entrepreneurs and big names. And we just go right into one of the Shawnisms. Because here's the thing, you and I and all the other entrepreneurs out there, we've all learned the same lessons. And if we haven't, we're going to. You will. We'll all learn the same things. I gave him a little name. I gave him a clever, whatever moniker. But we go right into those and just go deep on them. And so I can go deeper on the podcast than I can in the book because I'm, riffing off of someone else who's learned something similar. And I think it's really unique. And so Let Me Save You 25 Years, the podcast is doing great. And I would encourage you to check it out. And I appreciate the opportunity to share it.
No, absolutely. We barely scratched the surface with your story and obviously with the book. But is there anything I didn't ask you about today that you think would resonate with our audience?
I think that we are living in the strangest of times. I have this wonderful gift of having gotten started. Like we were bootstrapping at Lovesac before that word, I think, was invented. I don't even think it was a word. It kind of came along in the middle 2000s as people were.
I think it came with like the rise of the internet startup, which that whole fail fast and pivot stuff I don't think even existed before the 2000s. That's
right. So I'm kind of like this old guy that got started quite young, and our product is easy to understand because it's a giant beanbag and not full of beans, full of foam. And it's great. We make great products. And now the couches, of course, are what drives us, and they're amazing. But I think with all of this time now under my belt, under one organization, it's a unique point of view. Like there are many serial entrepreneurs. I sometimes wished that I was one. Here I am running the same business I started in college, right?
The grass is always greener though, Shawn.
That's right. And that would be a good lesson to take away is that, I don't go to a networking event or whatever where I'm not instantly kind of jealous of whoever I'm chatting with because like, oh my gosh, yours sounds so much easier than mine, so much better, so much more profitable. And by the way, it's not true. It's not true. It's all effing hard. All of it for everyone. And if it's not, it will be. And so it's very important that, we avoid that temptation to wish our lot away. I mean, there are times where I think you need to pivot or read the writing on the wall or get out or change direction. And we've changed direction a number of times at Lovesac, and I have wanted to quit and just leave it 100 times, 1,000 times, who knows? But somehow made that decision, and that's a gut call. And that's why you're paid the big bucks, is because you have the instincts to operate in uncertainty. It's another thing I talk about in the book, an underserved principle. I think the fundamental attribute of an entrepreneur is the ability to tolerate uncertainty. And I think that that's not talked about a lot because it's a weird kind of abstract thing. And I don't even think most entrepreneurs realize it because they just that's just how they're wired. But most humans can't tolerate uncertainty in all of its forms. It's why we hate waiting to hear about a result from a medical test or a whatever. It could be any kind of uncertainty, financial uncertainty especially. And entrepreneurs, I think, naturally have this ability to tolerate it and to thrive in it. And I talk about some of that and why that is and the importance of leaning into that. And so with it comes intuition, the ability to make decisions with limited information and be confident enough in it to move forward with faith and with vigor. And I guess, so with all those 100 opportunities I had to quit, give up, go do something else, invest somewhere else, whatever, and probably should have. Like if you look at it on paper, we were going through a full reorg, all my equity was wiped out. All these things that I've lived through that I should have probably quit. I'm grateful that I didn't, but that's not for everyone. What's my point? That's why they pay you the big bucks. Entrepreneurs can make a lot of money. Business leaders, CEOs can make a lot of money because you are in a position where you have to make hard decisions. And those decisions hopefully will end up more of them right than wrong. And you'll hopefully end up on the right side where you can have good outcomes. But that's why the good outcomes are there, because it's hard. And so just embrace the hardness of it. Just embrace the difficulty of it. There's a reason it's difficult. There's a reason why the outcomes can be massive and huge. It's because it's hard.
Great place to end it, Shawn. I am so excited that I had you on today. I know I'm going to have you back in the future. This was great. So if I'm listening and I want to check out the book or check out the podcast, where should I go? What should I do?
Yeah, anywhere you get podcasts, Let Me Save You 25 Years, and give it a listen. It's worth it. The book is one to share. Anyone you observe in your realm that has ambition, that needs a little bit of motivation or something, will find it in this book called Let Me Save You 25 Years as well. Available on Amazon or Lovesac or wherever you want to find it. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn.
Great to be with you.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestecommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.